Good morning. I hope you're off to a good start this morning. It is Wednesday, and I'm with Agie Adams, who you know very well from our window seat, which is every second Wednesday. Today, we're doing the whole show from Africa's Travel Indaba, which is the biggest one on the continent. So we're going to call it the window seat Indaba.
Indaba. I like
Right.
it.
How are you, Agie?
Very good. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, where have you been since we last spoke, first of all? And morning, everybody. Join the comment section. We'll be checking in on you periodically over there as well. Hope that you are ready for a big bumper-packed show. So where have you been?
Well, about 10 days ago, 10 days ago, I arrived back from Dubai, where I attended the Arabian travel market.
What's that
So,
like?
Very similar to what we're seeing at Indaba, except it's the Middle East or the Middle East region's version of that. It was chaos.
Did you see any great Qatar jets that he's going to get for free? Donald Trump is getting a free plane. You get something for free. You don't say what's under the hood. You say thank you very much.
That's it. You just take it. And apparently he's there in the next week, I think.
He's in Saudi today, I think.
Yeah, Saudi today, and I think in the next week he'll be visiting the UAE.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was in Dubai at Arabian Travel Market, which is great.
So, I mean, you go through Dubai so often and you're in Dubai so often that you must know a couple of tricks there. I mean, I imagine the times when it's in transit, you just, waiting for planes. But
but look, I've been there a lot, so I do know the tricks. It's a really expensive destination, and it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
So if I can give you an example, if you don't mind. I had one of my colleagues who've never traveled overseas. It was his first trip. He was with me.
Yeah.
Wanted to see some of Dubai and needed to find some affordable curios to take home. And Dubai, as you move further away from the airport, the more expensive it gets.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the area called Deira is old Dubai. That's where you get the cheaper stuff. So we took a train to get to Deira. A magnet would cost you $100 somewhere else, and we got it for $10.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you have to know the shop there. If you don't go there, they'll rip you off.
Yeah, even food. So we went for lunch, and I promise you, we ate cheaper than we do in South Africa.
Wow, but you really have to know where to go.
You need to know where to go. Here's the trick, though, with Deira, and for South Africans, it's quite appropriate. The guy's name is Tankiso, so he's a big, burly black guy. He looks like a rugby player.
Yeah.
And we go to Deira, and he says he feels at home because all of Africa's there.
Oh, yeah?
And he says, I don't see any white people here. That's because they can afford to be in the other side of Dubai. He kept getting pulled left and right by the ladies trying to sell him T-shirts and bags.
But there are lots of South Africans there now. Yeah. There are lots.
And Africans, lots of Nigerians, Ghanaians as well. More and more.
Well, let's not leave the Middle East because I do think it's an interesting place, and there's certainly a ton of stuff that is happening there, travel and tourism-wise. And really, if we do anything on a Wednesday when we do the window seat, it's to open up people's minds and eyes to opportunities they might not have seen before. Now, there's one that's so brand new that I actually heard about it in the news yesterday for the first time. And I was so pleased when Agie brought it up because I thought, okay, good. I mean, shit, talk about having your finger on the pulse. But Abu Dhabi is launching the first new Disney theme park in like 50 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think the last one was in Shanghai. And this is the first one since 2010.
Right.
It's a big deal for them.
I mean, most people know Disney World, Disneyland, Euro Disney, the one in China, Shanghai,
Hong Kong, Singapore.
Yeah. Now, this is the first new one since then, and appropriately, because it's really the place where all the action is in terms of anybody who's going to spend money on creating tourist destinations, is the Middle East, and this is in Abu Dhabi. So, is it going to be on the scale of all the others?
I think so. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, the Emirates don't do anything in half measures. Anything they do has got to be the biggest and the best. So, I don't know how long it'll take, but I'll be very keen and interested to visit it as soon as it's open. Dubai in the Middle East, there's no shortage of theme parks. Dubai has their own version called Dubai Parks and Resorts, which is phenomenal. They've got a place called IMG World of Adventure, which is one of the largest indoor theme parks. And in Abu Dhabi, not to be outdone by the cousin, they built the Warner Brothers Studios.
Sure. Don't they also have that island that Ben keeps talking about? With
Yas Island?
Yas Island.
Yeah.
Just a Yas Island. He just wants to
Yas
go there
Island.
and hop on the water rides.
So yeah, Yas Island is great, and that's where the Warner Brothers Studios are.
Okay.
And they've got a big water world.
Isn't that where Ferrari World is too?
World is there as well. So lots of theme parks. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't think there's a worry about it turning a profit for Disney, because if you've visited any of the theme parks in Dubai, they never full, but they stay open because it's funded.
Right.
So I think the Disney one will be funded as well. I think it's also one of the appeals for me when I take my kids to Dubai.
Oh yeah, kids love it.
There's no queues. The worst thing about Disney World, whether it's in Euro Disney or Orlando, is the queues.
Yeah.
Sitting 3 hours to get on your favorite ride, whereas in a place like Dubai, you can go on the ride 3 times in 10 minutes.
Right.
Because there aren't any queues. So that is actually
listen,
an appeal.
you've sold it to me already. No queues is the only thing you needed to say.
Absolutely.
We are in Durban for this Indaba today, which I'll tell you about in a moment. I saw Bitcoin Bot put up a comment just now about how Gareth's in dirt bin today. I hope Mapelo cleaned up. Well, I got to say in Durban's defense, because I've always loved Durban and I've always been a big advocate for Durban for a number of reasons. But the chief of those reasons is that we were actually up on the roof just now of this property that we're in Gateway. It's the Aha Hotel, which is superb. And we went up onto the roof, and you've got a view which is excellent across the whole of. You could see the sun rising over the ocean, all of that stuff. But what's amazing about it is that it was 5:30 in the morning when we went up there, and it's warm. You could walk around without a jacket on. I was up there like this, and I wasn't cold. And that is something that Durban has that really is special. And I believe this is quite an interesting thing. Talk about new stuff that's happening. This is maybe something that you're aware of too. But in case you weren't, I would love to be the first to tell you, because I doubt that this is something novel to you. But apparently South Africa is launching a new Big 5 safari destination in KZN. Is this news to you?
Well, if you elaborate, maybe it will be.
All right. So apparently this was once emptied of wildlife, but South Africa's Babanango Game Reserve has become a thriving Big 5 sanctuary thanks to a bold rewilding effort led by Zulu communities and global conservationists. So since 2018, nearly 5,000 animals have been reintroduced across 20,000 hectares of once degraded land. The project is backed by German philanthropists and community trusts. It also supports local jobs, infrastructure, and conservation education. And Babanango is now a model for combining biodiversity restoration with rural development, proving that when nature thrives, communities can too. It does sound like that was written as a PR piece, but I mean, if there are 5,000 animals being reintroduced, 20,000 hectares of land becoming conserved properly, that's good news.
Absolutely fantastic.
So no one's complaining about that, right? Yeah. That's awesome.
And especially for this region, they've been through a lot.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good news coming out. You spoke, I think, 2 weeks ago with Camille about Club Med.
Oh, yeah. Very excited about that.
That is really exciting. That's also, Durban, it's the beach. It's, there should be more all-inclusive resorts on the beach. South Africans love all-inclusive. And I think once Club Med opens, we'll probably see more investment of that sort.
Right.
That is news to me.
Okay, good. I'm always listen. I've never surprised you before from this point of view, so I'm thrilled.
And that's exciting for the region, and offering that kind of diverse holidays for KZN will be fantastic.
That's awesome. All right, good. So there's some interesting stuff happening all around us, and of course, the other thing that makes Durban so interesting is it really is like a proper African city. Because you can say what you like about Cape Town, and it's beautiful, and nobody hates Cape Town. I mean, I like giving them trouble. Okay, so we're just trying to. I'm seeing James says we can't hear you properly. So
come a little closer to the mic.
All right, James, just give us the thumbs up if that's all right. So while we're talking about KZN, and we've got a couple of other guests who will be joining us later on. We're going to be talking about some of the things that are bringing people here and some of the things that people who are here want to do in the rest of the world. And Agie's going to tell us about disappearing places just now, which I think everybody finds pretty exciting. Because there are places in the world where if you don't get there...
might be gone.
Yeah, no pressure. So we're going to talk all about that. And AI is busy doing what it's doing as well. So we're going to find out, I'm sure, what the influence and impact of AI on the travel and tourism business is going to be, because I'm sure it's going to be massive, like it is everywhere else.
Lots of investment and some new things coming out.
For sure. And of course, if you want to find out more about these destinations, you can head along to travel.co.za, where you'll find all of the info. So I was on a plane yesterday to come here, and Lyft, who we flew with, is like really sharp, to the point. They don't bugger around. I mean, all of our airlines are pretty damn good, actually, in quality. South Africa. If you have ever traveled domestically in America, you'll know what I mean. Those are some of the most. I mean, first of all, they've got like really, really old stewardesses.
Yeah, really old.
Those people look like they've been there since that plane was put together.
Yeah, since the days of Pan Am.
Someone told me what that is, though. Apparently, what happens is that these women or men, because they're old men too, and they're not all old, but it's very odd. What happens is that they need to get a certain number of miles, so they get free flights for life. So they end up working.
So they're working for benefits.
They're working for those benefits. And sometimes the old frail lady who pushes the trolley down. And by the way, if you've ever complained about like local domestic travel on planes, you have no idea of what it's like in America. I remember just flying between New York and New Orleans, it was. And it's like a bus in the sky.
Yeah.
I mean, we have absolutely luxurious local travel.
We're very spoiled.
We are.
Especially with Lyft. Thank you, Lyft.
Yeah, Shaman, I'm not being horrible to those old I mean, at least they're working, right? But they find a place for these old people.
Absolutely.
It's great. Employment is up. What can I tell you? Tremendous job market. Everything's great. It's superb. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. All right, you can join us in the comments section. We're going to take all the comments that you have. We're also going to speak to somebody who we've had on the show before in a short while, the Chief Executive Officer of Tourvest Destination Management. And we could talk to him about anything in the travel world. He'll be joining us later. It's Martijn Mellaar. So I'm looking forward to that. And Agie, you've now teased us with this idea of places that are disappearing.
Yeah.
So I immediately, when you told me about this last night, I said to you, Maldives.
Yeah.
But the Maldives is still there. In fact, my sister and her boyfriend are going there in September.
Right.
They've never been before. Very excited. But they didn't bring up that it's not going to be there for a while.
Oh, my God. Yeah. So maybe we should put some context
to
it, right?
Yeah.
So, the Maldives is actually made up of a couple of thousand islands.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
The little ones, big ones.
Not just the one that you see in National Geographic.
Yeah, not just the resort one or the main island. And every year it actually loses 10 or 20 of them.
Oh.
So it is.
I'm sorry to hear that. Because I've been one of those people who's been making fun of the place, they're making this up. They're being dramatic.
They are being a bit dramatic because I think when this idea originally came up about disappearing places, Maldives, obviously, the reasons for disappearing places, there's a variety of them. One of them being obviously climate change, and they were on this climate change bandwagon, and they put actually a date to it, and they said by 2030. Well, we're almost there, and Maldives is still there.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be careful what you promise. I mean, I remember Al Gore was telling us that the polar ice caps will have completely melted, and places like Miami would be underwater.
And there's danger of these things, but I think they've got the math wrong in terms of.
I think probably one of the biggest dangers for many of these places is population dynamics, economics. Yeah. Those sort of things change migration patterns.
Over-tourism is a big deal.
Over-tourism. Now, this is interesting because you and I were talking about this last time we spoke about Europe.
Yeah.
There's certain places where, like in Spain, for example, they're actually discouraging tourists.
And
in Barcelona, right?
They're protesting against you.
Yeah. So, they have like people.
If you want to feel at home right now, go to Spain, right?
You go to a country.
You're going to have a protest somewhere around you. Secondly, you're going to have load shedding in Spain right now.
Yes.
For
Portugal.
And Portugal, yeah.
So all right. Don't listen. We're not trying to put you off anything because Spain is magnificent. And I was in Barcelona. What is it now? 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, what a place!
It's amazing.
I mean, that. What is the main street called that goes up the middle there? Where
La
you
Rola, something with the R.
Las
Las
Ramblas.
Ramblas.
Wow. I mean, I'm probably pronouncing that badly, but that is some place to go and visit, and it's beautiful. And every little, window box outside of every person's apartment has got flowers
Flowers.
in it, and it just looks like Barcelona is a show-off city. I haven't been to Madrid. I haven't been to places in like Valencia or anywhere like that, but I believe that they're equally magnificent. And there are obviously places up in the north as well that are very, very pretty. But I would love to go to Spain. They might not want you though, because over tourism is an actual thing. So this is what happens when certain places there are just crowds and crowds of people. It takes you forever to get anywhere because of the queues. You have to look after and look out for things that are being essentially broken down by just too many people, foot
Yeah.
traffic or whatever
A
else.
great example of over tourism is Maya Bay. Maya Bay in Thailand became popular.
That was
with
from the beach.
the beach.
Yeah.
Very popular. The movie came out in 2000 and it became so popular that just before COVID, they actually closed Maya Bay down to tourists. And it was such a shame because it is a spectacular spot. It closed for 4 years to try and get the coral to recover, and it worked. So all of the speedboats coming in and out of that place destroyed the coral um, almost forever. But luckily, the Thai government stopped it. 4 years, COVID came, another 2 years.
And now it's
It's
recovered.
recovered, it's opened up, and there's now limitations in terms of the number of people. So that would be a place you'd want to see because you're not guaranteed to see it if you visit Thailand.
Yeah.
So if you are going to Thailand, make sure you try and pre-book that trip to Maya Bay. It is worth it. It is phenomenal.
And what do they now only allow a certain number of
Certain
boats
number.
in?
Yeah.
It's incredible. Huh?
I mean,
I suppose you have to break things before you find out what they can take.
And when I went to Thailand quite a while back, I remember as you pull into the bay, I mean, you're blown away. You're on a speedboat, it slows down as it gets close, and it comes to a stop. Parked.
Mm.
They're literally dropping people off and moving back out to make space for the next 50 boats.
Sure.
So at any given time, we reckon there's about 10,000 people on that beach. So it's the perfect example of the meme Instagram versus reality.
Yeah.
You'll see the Instagram photo when it's empty, but in reality, there's 10,000 people around you.
Yeah, everybody has to wait for that one girl who has to do an Instagram picture.
And in their dresses. So that's a disappearing place.
Okay, so that's one example. I mean, the other obvious one that you've already mentioned to me, so I know that this is one of them, and it's a place that I've been to once, and I love it. It's magnificent. It's one of a kind in the world, and that's the city of Venice.
Yeah. If you're traveling to Venice or plan to travel to Venice, anybody online, take your gumboots with because the chances of that place being flooded while you're there, water up to knee deep, is very high. Just a little bit of rain and it floods. So they reckon Venice is sinking. Again, it's a climate change thing, but I think it's a bit of old buildings as well.
Well, it's been there. I mean, Venice has been around as a republic. It's been an independent republic, and then it became part of Italy. But it's been around since the early medieval era, and there are beautiful buildings there, like really, really magnificent buildings. With sort of marble floors and ancient stone columns. I mean, St. Mark's in the middle of the big piazza off the Grand Canal is well known as one of the iconic churches of Europe.
Yeah.
And I've seen photographs of that place being flooded.
Yeah.
The whole of St. Mark's Square.
Happens almost every summer now.
place. I remember I had the best, I'm not a foodie at all, but I had the best meal of my life ever in a Piazza San Stefano in Venice. And it was just a bruschetta with some tomato on
Your
it.
favorite.
Like the simplest thing in the world. But they did it so beautifully that I couldn't believe I was on Earth anymore. And I really am not a foodie. Anybody who listens and watches, this show will know. That's not something that interests me. But you go over little bridges. You get into the gondolas, the famous, Venetian gondolas. You've got these old art galleries and people who live in magnificent apartments. I mean, we're talking about sort of palatial big apartments with these views out
High
over
ceilings,
the Adriatic, high ceilings. There are some spectacular things to see in that wonderful city, but I'm concerned. It's built on wood.
Correct.
Because what they did is they drove huge wooden stakes into the ground, and then they built in and around those, nailing it all together. I mean, and these things are old, so that I don't think that wood is in great condition. I wouldn't build a ship out of it. Let me put it that way.
I think also with some of the investment from hotels and stuff, they do reinforce some of the stuff.
Yeah,
but a majority of it, like you say, is still on wood. But it's such a charming town, and you lose their charm if there's thousands and thousands of tourists. So if you are going to plan to go to Venice, which I think you should, do it in the off season or do it just at the end of the summer period, less crowds, and you'll actually appreciate their charm.
Also, it's important to throw in here that if you're going to Venice, then you need to know that sometimes it can be very smelly in summer.
Oh, yeah.
So better to not go in summer.
No, not in summer. Go towards the end of summer. It's much better.
No, rather be a little bit chilly than have it smell like a sewer, because it can, and it's not great. I mean, think about it. Everything empties into the ocean, right? And into those canals. So you have to be picky and choosy.
Yeah, and you'll save a packet if you go at the end of summer anyway.
See, this is what we do. We're here to give you some tips. Yeah, all right. Are there any other places that are disappearing?
Well, there's lots. I'm sure the guys will put in the comments as well what they think. But a lot of people have Kilimanjaro on their wish list. Look, the mountain's not going away, but the snow cap's gone. So you'll get to just be rock. There won't be that ice cap, that snow at the top, which gives you that iconic look.
Yeah.
So that's melting away. You just need to Google Kilimanjaro 20 years ago when it was completely covered in snow.
Really?
Yeah. To now, it's just a little tip at the top. So there's those places that are endangered from an environmental perspective. The Amazon rainforest, deforestation. But the over tourism is taking over. Places like Machu Picchu, a lot of people have that on their bucket list.
Machu Picchu in Peru.
Yeah.
I know someone who's there at the moment, and that place, I mean, again, beautiful, but very difficult to get to.
Very difficult. There's different ways to do it. If you've got bucks, you take the Belmont train.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to cost you about $500,000, but it's the best way to do it.
$500,000.
Just $500,000, but it'll be worth it. Or you could do the old way, which is probably the right way to do it. Problem with Machu Picchu is they don't give you advance notice. The Thai government will tell you, we're closing this island. They'll give you a month's notice, or they'll tell you about it. Machu Picchu, you'll arrive on the day and say, sorry, we closed.
Really?
There's too many tourists this week.
Oh, so do they ever close because it's high up in the Andes? Do they close for weather stuff as well?
Sometimes, very unsafe. There've been reports over the last 5 years of some landslides, which is dangerous, obviously, for the people that are hiking up. So yes, they do close for those reasons. But over tourism is the number one reason. There's just too many people.
I see Durban's Dope says it's storm surge and spring high tides that flood Venice.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean spring high tides, but that shouldn't be a reason that your whole city's underwater for, what is it, a couple of weeks every year. So it's a mess. You don't want that.
And then there's iconic things that's happening, which is not over tourism. I'll give you an example. It's not environmental.
Mm-hmm.
It's more to do with legislation. So, so there's things you may want to experience in your life. One of them being the Amsterdam's red light district.
Oh no! Don't tell me they're going to close that down. This is the
They-
hope of
it
so many South African teenage boys.
The Dutch government, whenever it's election time, it's one of the things that's there.
Really?
Some of them say we'll close it down, others say we'll keep it open.
Wow.
And since it's still open, I think the people of the Netherlands know what they want. But there's always a party that threatens to close it down, and you never know who's in charge.
Well, also you can have governments that are too involved. I mean, you mentioned the Thai government and looking after that famous beach, but there are governments who don't really care, and you can go anywhere and do whatever you want. I mean, it used to be the case that in places like Chichen Itza in Mexico,
Yeah.
you could climb up to the top of the
Correct.
pyramid and you can go and see this incredible view across the Yucatan Peninsula and see where they would have had ceremonies, and when the sun comes up or goes down at exactly the right time of year, you can see the movement of the snake up the stairs. I mean, it's quite something to see.
Yeah.
But what they've done is, since some stupid American tourist fell
Yeah.
or whatever, now they don't allow people up there
At
so
all.
yeah, all it takes is one dumb American tourist to ruin it for everybody. And I'm picking on the Americans, but it could be a South African, could be anybody. You do something stupid and then they shut it down for everyone.
Or they limit it, or and you don't get the full.
The health and
full-
safety
your
people
health and
get
safety.
involved.
You don't get that full experience.
Instagram over tourism and cheap flights has really ruined travel, says Traveling Ninja Turtle.
Ninja Turtle, I agree with you. You brought that up.
Yeah.
Instagram
Yeah.
over tourism.
Yeah.
So thanks for bringing that up. It segues nicely into a little bit of AI.
Okay, yes.
So
Because we are, in case you just joined us now and you're wondering what we're doing, it's a special episode of the show this morning. We are live in Durban, actually getting ready for Africa's Travel Indaba, which is the biggest one on the continent. It's kind of like the G20 of travel, right?
Yeah.
You've got all the airlines there. You've got lots of South African tourism destinations. You've got big companies like Tourvest, who have just gone through a rebrand, which we'll all be privy to at some point in the next few days.
Well, this afternoon.
It all happens. It's a big announcement.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. And you can go and find out about travel destinations, which is really what Agie's here for us this morning to explain, because he's the guy. He's our insider who can help us with all the best at travel.co.za. So just to get back, AI is obviously one of the areas that is just, it's one of the things that's affecting every sector of the economy. And I'm curious, how is that affecting tourism? Because you guys are not immune to this.
Not at all. You've got to embrace it if you want to stay
Sure.
alive. And certainly we're investing in it with our technology, with travel IT. But the point of Ninja Turtle earlier about Instagram, ruining it for
Over
everyone.
tourism, yeah.
So what Expedia have done, they've created a new AI app that allows you to share a reel you found on Instagram. So you saw a reel about somebody, I don't know, whether it's somebody cooking something or somebody traveling somewhere, and you shove that reel into the app, and it builds an itinerary for you.
Oh, really?
And the problem with that is that people are going to see all these cool places where they get the best photos and shove it in there. It's just something that's going to promote this over tourism a little bit more, especially for those hard to find places.
So, I mean, apart from, because this is lazy. This in some ways, it's because someone wants to have that photo.
They want the same
that
photo
their favorite influencer had. Yeah. In some ways, those people should just not be allowed to travel. If you ask me, if you are going somewhere just so that you can pose in the same place as your influencer that you like, I don't know what to tell you. But people also, I don't think they do the research.
No.
They hope that they'll just stumble upon all these tips and tricks that you give us. And listen, if you pay attention to this show every 2 weeks, you'll learn lots of things like this from the window seat. But most people don't do any research.
No, and be original. I think.
Yeah.
I've traveled with you, and I've seen you walk the little alleys of Santorini and stuff, looking for your own thing.
Yeah,
which is absolutely great, rather than going to the famous spot where everybody takes the photo.
There's a reason those are famous places. I get it, but I think there's something so it's so like you just are one of the crowd. Yeah. You're one of those people lining up to do the same thing as everybody else, and I can't find it in me to get excited about just doing something because Kim Kardashian did it.
Oh, somebody like that.
You know what I mean? And by the way, she was in a Paris court yesterday, just to bring a bit of news in. Not because she did something wrong, but she was robbed. Remember when she was robbed in Paris? Well, they started the court case.
Did he finally come around?
Yeah. And she was saying, "Oh my God, I was so scared for my life, and it was so terrible." And they stole one of her rings that Kanye had given her, which cost $2 million. Can you imagine?
$2 million.
Yeah, $2 million ring from Kanye.
$15 million bucks.
Yeah. Not bad, huh?
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So that's what Kim Kardashian. That's her contribution to your morning, everybody.
So we've seen our own version of Kim Kardashian on the Instagram and all of this stuff in Dubai. If you want to go see the Burj Khalifa, a lot of people just take a taxi and they get to the entrance of the mall and take their photos and all of that. I always like to take people to a place called the Wings of Mexico. So it's a little bit out. You've got a fantastic view of the Burj, and it's a really lovely walk through the park next to the fountains to get to the mall. And the whole way you can see the Burj Khalifa, especially at night. We went during the day, and they've got a little frame, one of those Instagram frames that people can stand on and take a photo.
They're going in Cape Town now.
It's not a well-known spot, the Wings of Mexico. It's got those wings and stuff.
Okay.
So it's not well known. So there's never really a big crowd there. There's 2 or 3 people, which is fine. Mum and the daughter, that's fine. And there's obviously an influencer there. And you know this because there's 3 people with cameras and camera equipment. There's 1 person with a light. There's 1 person for the makeup. And there's 1 person to get the dress flowing in the right wind. So it's a crew of 8 or 10 people, which is actually quite funny to see. Them standing in a queue to get the photo done. And when they do take the photo, the disgruntled people behind telling them, move on, move on. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I would hate to be one of those influencers. I've often sat somewhere and watched people and they're kind of posing and trying to get the perfect selfie. And these are only the amateur influencers. The professional ones, as you say, always have a crew with them. But I wonder how awkward and embarrassed they must feel, or whether they just eventually have a thick skin about these things, because you're disturbing a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
You look like you are completely self-involved, which you usually are. You often keep other people waiting. You're pulling funny faces. You're doing weird poses.
And if you're doing those TikTok dances, you're doing it 17 times.
You're doing it a couple of times. It's got to be like one of the most awful jobs.
Yeah, definitely.
It really is. I don't know how anyone wants to be an influencer. I think it's those people who do this stuff. They work hard. It's not as if they don't get, what they deserve for their hard efforts. Some of them are working very hard, especially in places like Dubai, where they have to go and fight other influencers for the spot.
It's so funny. Look, Dubai is big enough, I think, to cater to all of them.
Sure.
The amount of places they can go and stuff. Another thing that I fell for was the Dubai chocolate craze.
I was going to say, you don't fall for any of these things.
Well, it's my kids. They want to taste the Dubai chocolate.
Now, why is Dubai chocolate good? Because I've heard, I know the Swiss and the Belgians are always doing their thing.
Well, it's not so much the chocolate as it is the filling.
Okay.
So they've got this kunafa filling, which is but of that crunchy pastry with the I don't know what nut it is, but anyway,
macadamia or something.
Yes, it's a craze, and it's been all over TikTok. And the reason for it is because the chocolate costs 1,000 rand a slab.
What do they put in there? Like a hair of Alexander the Great.
People are taking bites of this on TikTok. It's like, oh my God, it's amazing. And there's a craze for it. It's 1,000 rand a slab. Jeez. No, I'm from South Africa. We will find the knockoff. And we found the knockoff, and it was about $100 a slab, which is fine. But I'm not gonna lie. It was pistachio.
Oh, I love that. That's okay. That's good.
And it was worth $100.
By the way, you're often the guy who knows these answers just off the top of your head. But ice cream is something some people love, especially when they're in, it's in summer and it's freezing. I mean, it's beautiful, warm, and you want this freezing cold ice cream. And Gelato, obviously, is a big deal in Italy.
Yeah,
But where are your favorite places to go for something like ice cream?
no doubt, Rome.
Rome.
Yeah, and not the touristy shops. When you were in Rome as well.
Yeah.
So it's a little, there's a chain of stores, whatever. They're outside of the main city. I've never had such amazing ice cream in my life. It was so good. I'd have half a liter of ice cream in the morning and half a liter at night, and I did that every day for 5 days.
Half a liter.
I'm not an ice cream guy. I like ice
Wow,
cream, but
it's
I'm
that
not.
good, huh?
It was that good.
Yes.
And you'd find that shop would be filled with locals, which is great. That's how you know it's a good store. It's proper Italian gelato, and it's all the locals. They're little mopeds. It's not even a store where you can sit in. It's like a walkthrough. You walk in, you order, you collect your stuff, you walk out. There's no place to sit. So all of these local Italian guys and girls, mostly youngsters, on their mopeds, parked outside. They buy the ice cream. They sit on the most about, and the place was open till
So,
2 in the morning.
That's the picture, right? Is you want to be on your little motorbike, moped. You want to be in Rome, driving around, stopping for gelato. It sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
It sounds like most people's idea of a perfect honeymoon. I was going to ask you, because this has been such a big series for this, is this White Lotus show with those 3 resorts. So the first one was in Hawaii, I think. Second one was in Rome, or in Sardinia or Sicily, one of the two. Third one in Thailand.
Yes.
And I wonder, because, people are so devoid of the ability to make stuff up themselves or to plan an itinerary, that they probably are going to try and find out where these places are, that those shows were
locations,
shot. And that happens with movies too. I mean, you had that Game of Thrones craziness
in
where
Croatia,
people, all they wanted to do was go and see the scenes, the sites that they filmed Game of Thrones in. So are people doing this too with shows that they find on TV?
It's massive. We call it location travel. We can actually do, we do a campaign around it as well. So we do some research and see what's the popular location spots for it. One of the most popular things is to do the Friends tour in New York, for example.
Oh, yeah. Go to the apartment, the coffee shop.
That's right.
But is there really a coffee shop?
There isn't.
What is it called?
No,
the Central Perk.
No, there isn't. I mean, obviously that was done in studio.
But no one opened one up somewhere?
The apartment wasn't real either. But if you watch the show Friends, a lot of the times there's a shot of the outside of a building.
A building, but it's...
And just that alone is enough for people to get on that red bus, take photos. I went past the Friends building.
Right.
But location travel is definitely big. And a lot of shows now, choosing the Middle East is obviously going to be there. Game of Thrones. There's a place I can't pronounce. I'm actually going to find it for you during the show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you that challenge.
Okay.
To pronounce this Scandinavian place. They shut the place down, and it was for the reason that there was a massive scene in Game of Thrones that was shot there. It's like this, fjord scene with these high mountain cliffs and stuff. So those shows do promote a lot of it. And you'll see the comments on the movies. Oh, this was shot here, or this was shot there. Star Wars is a big thing. People going to Ireland trying to find Luke Skywalker. At the Jedi Temple.
Yeah, he would have been on that island somewhere. Yeah, that's true.
So location, it's actually a thing.
Right. Okay. So what's this list of destinations that you've looked for?
No, I was just looking at all of these places.
That are still
the endangered places.
Okay. I saw Madagascar or Mozambique made the list.
Yeah, a lot of it is for the deforestation and stuff.
Right.
I'm looking for the interesting ones. So if you like wine, Bordeaux, that's in danger. So
no, you're joking.
Prices are going to skyrocket, or start going up, and that's because of the temperatures around the world. Apparently, I'm not the expert. So
you mean you can't pick up like the nutmeg?
No, I don't get it.
The walnut.
But apparently, the Merlot grape is extremely sensitive to heat.
Okay.
And with the current changes in the temperature and stuff like that, it's the opportunity to grow and make Merlot is getting less and less. And in the Bordeaux vineyards, 40% of the grapes grown on those vineyards since 1950, that's more than almost half, are these Merlot grapes. So if they're in danger, you're going to get less of that.
Now, I hate to climb on someone else's misfortune here, but would that be a good thing for our
Oh,
Cape Merlot
yeah.
red wine industry? I mean,
Yes,
that
and
probably would, right?
if the demand goes up, the price
Yeah.
goes up.
I was thinking, is Table Mountain under any danger of being over tourismed?
I don't think so. I think because we've got the one cable car and can only take so many people.
Okay.
If
So limits.
if the Western Cape government decides to award another company another cable car, okay, then we can talk. But right now, I think the one cable car is fine, and only the fit people make it to the top when they do the hike. So I think Table Mountain's
I'm
fine.
sure there are lots of animals in the Kruger Park that feel like we've got over tourism there.
Ah, yes,
uh,
they're so used to us; they know how to open doors.
Yeah. But that place is so huge that again,
Yeah.
it's knowing where to go inside
Yeah.
of Kruger. And I've got family and friends who love going there.
But
And they know all the secret
yeah,
places.
and I think SA national parks do a really good job. I mean,
Yeah.
I know they get
Yeah,
flack for certain things.
I've heard some of that from high praise from lots of people.
And if you compare that to other places in Africa that offer a similar product, Safari, for example, they do manage that really well. I think they do.
All right. Well, let us know what you think and where you would want to go before it's gone. Just drop us a comment in the YouTube, and we would be happy to reply, pop it on screen, see what you have to say about that. Now, this is a canyon in Iceland. Oh, okay. So Iceland has got some crazy names. So Agie's just found the name of this canyon in Iceland that was closed after tourists flocked to the location. Why? Because it was seen on Game of Thrones. It's a very beautiful sort of valley. It is called Fjarðarjörður.
Well done.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's right.
Fjarðarjörður Canyon in Iceland. That's, I think, how you pronounce it, but I could be horribly wrong as well.
Well done.
And then you've got that volcano, remember, that erupted
Yes.
and stopped tourism some
Oh my
years
God,
ago.
please don't erupt again,
Yeah,
Iceland.
we don't need that. That thing's also got a name this long that no one can pronounce unless they are from Iceland.
They just call it the Iceland.
Listen, I've heard
volcano.
such beautiful things about Iceland. In fact, I know two people who were there in the last 2 years. Both of them have said it was exceptional. One was like a family trip, family of 4 that went there, and they, toured the place. Now, you would think kids would be bored in Iceland. These kids are just old enough that they could do all the outdoor stuff, and it was in the middle of summer. So that's when Iceland's nice. You don't want to be there in the middle of winter.
No, I'd love to see that black beach they've got.
Yeah, and you've got volcanoes and waterfalls and springs, hot springs. It's phenomenal. So that's definitely a place on my list too.
Yeah, at some point, definitely want to get there.
Yeah, I think that probably another place that I'm very keen. A friend of mine has just got back from 7 months of travel.
What?
Yeah. Don't ask me how.
7 months.
He says he's got no money left, but this is what he wanted to do.
Jeez.
And he said he was just blown away by Mexico, which I've been to. I've been to Cancun, but I haven't been to the rest of it. And Mexico is on the up and up, hey?
Yeah, I think since Trump's coming, it's gotten better.
People love Mexico.
They love it.
And Mexico City is apparently spectacular. But he was telling me about Mérida, which is in central Mexico. And he said that there is real romance there. Like you see couples kissing passionately in the street. There's Latin music playing. Romance is not dead. If you're one of those people who's given up on romance because you live in the Western world, I got great news for you. Just go to Central and South America.
I think the tequila helps.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm sure it does. But he said there's just music playing on these squares, and every town, every city has these big public squares, and they've got food all around and people just dancing and genuinely happy, like excited, sophisticated, cool cultural environments to be in. So that's probably a place that's underrated. And I think South America, even more so, places like Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Brazil obviously gets a pretty good rap from people who love traveling to South America.
I think it's affordable for us as well as South Africans. I know Mexico, if you're not going to the Cancun and stuff like that, which still you can still get a good deal. Yeah. But all the other places in Mexico, I mean, your rand takes you quite far. Yeah.
Well, your rand is almost 1-to-1 there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Turkey used to be. I'm not sure if Turkey still is.
Turkey's not as it was before, but still is. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to chat to Martijn Mellaar in just a moment or two because he's also here at the Africa Travel Indaba, and we're going to find out what the world of Tourvest destination management can tell us about that. Don't look so surprised, Martijn. Come and join us here. Come and have a seat. Agie and I want to talk to you. All right. So, in case you don't know who he is, he's the CEO of Tourvest Destination Management. Yeah, let's go a little bit more this way.
Move
There
around.
we go. Yeah.
Shuffle up. How's it?
How are you?
Strong.
Nice to see you. Yeah,
Nice
okay.
to see you as
we were
well.
going to be on the roof, but we couldn't find the lights. So,
And it would have been too romantic in the dark.
I don't think anyone wants to see us, but for those who do, here we are. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
All right. So, how are you, first of all, and what's been happening with TDM?
Well, firstly, I'm very extremely well.
Good.
It's nice to be back at Indaba. It's my
Sure.
35th Indaba this year.
35.
Yeah, and my very first Indaba was at the Holiday Inn in Van der Bijl Park, and we were 36 exhibitors and 25 international buyers.
35 years of doing the Indaba is, for most people, they're onto their second marriage already.
Yeah, for me too.
All right, so what happens there? What is the Indaba all about?
So Indaba traditionally, before the arrival of digital communication, was really a once in a year meeting up with your customers, negotiating the following year's contract, introducing them to new product that you wanted to sell to them, that type of stuff. In the meantime, it's more a keep connected as human beings show.
Okay.
Because you do everything else in a digital fashion. You really don't do contracts anymore at an Indaba.
Sure.
But we're in the people's industry, and you still want to see the people, and you still want to have a glass of wine with them, and you still want to have a coffee with them in the morning,
Right.
and connect on an interpersonal level. And that's what an Indaba is there for. I guess there's, for us on the African continent, 3 trade shows that are really relevant. It's WTM in November in London. It's ITB in March in Germany, and then it's Indaba in May.
Okay, so this is one of those 3 big ones.
Yeah.
Who else goes to this Indaba? I mean, we were talking earlier that all the airlines are there. From a destination point of view, who are the major exhibitors?
Yeah, it's a big. I mean, it's a large cross segment. So it's municipalities, it's regions.
Okay.
I went to see the Hibiscus Coast yesterday, which is the south coast from Durban downwards. It's provincial tourism authorities, it's national tourism authorities. So it's all the government and parastatal environments.
And what are they trying to sell? Are they selling their destinations to airlines, to local tour operators, to people who want to bring people in from all over the world? Who are they trying to reach?
Largely, it's South Africa has got a challenge in terms of geographical spread of tourism, because tourism in South Africa really happens in the Western Cape plus a game reserve,
right?
And the geographical spread doesn't reach the whole country, so the economic benefit of tourism doesn't reach the whole country. The provincial tourism and the regional tourism authorities are of the view, rightfully or wrongfully, that the only way to fix that is to exhibit themselves and to highlight the benefits of their region to an international contracting environment. I think the geographical disbursement of tourism is largely driven by the consumer itself.
Okay.
I think the consumer chooses to go Western Cape plus a game reserve. So I'm not convinced that exhibiting at a trade show will help.
If I were a German tourist or an American tourist, I'd fly in either to Artambo or Cape Town Airport.
Yep.
And I'd usually only have Cape Town and a safari on my list, right? That's what most of them do. Now, who can interrupt that process to get them to open their eyes to some other options?
I think it strongly depends on repeat customer base. I think a first-time consumer that travels to South Africa will do what they perceive to be the highlights, which is Cape Town, Garden Route, Bush.
We mustn't leave the Garden Route out. Shame.
No, shame. No, don't forget our Garden Route. And it's user-friendly.
Yeah, sure.
But so first-time consumers will do that. They'll do what I would consider the race route. And that is brutally impacted by available time and available money,
Sure.
and mainly time. So I remember distinctly when I started in Tourvest, or became Tourvest late in November '87. The average length of stay in South Africa was 26 days of a holiday.
Sure.
The average stay that we currently have is 11 days. And
Wow.
just the average length, and that's a global thing. This is
Yeah.
not specific to South Africa. People take more holidays, but shorter. And the 11 days simply don't allow for the geographic disbursement that we're talking about. So I think it's natural that they take the perceived highlights, the perceived safe highlights. So tourism is often about personal safety, because you don't want to
Sure.
expose yourself.
And we sometimes get a bad rap on that front too. I mean, sure, sometimes it's deserved and we could always do more. But I think South Africa
we get a worse rap than we deserve.
Absolutely. And I don't think that that's fair either.
Yeah.
So I'm interested from your point of view, Martijn, when you think about the international tourist, and we're obviously trying to promote tourism to South Africa, and SA Tourism do a lot there. And, we've got a minister now whose job it is to try and promote that as well. What do you think the major inhibiting factors are? Because certainly cost is not one of them. To anyone from almost anywhere, we were just talking about Mexico and Turkey, which are about the only two currencies that match up to ours in any which way in the world. For most other countries and for most other people from countries that have a lot of tourists, we're a cheap destination. So it's not money. Do we have enough flights in and out? Do we have enough accommodation? Do we have enough activities for people to do? Is transport a problem once you get here by plane? Like, what would you advise if you suddenly could click your fingers as tourist minister and make a difference?
Yeah, so I think cost is a material aspect of it, and not because of what the land cost is, but what the air cost is to get here.
Well, it's far. It's prohibitively expensive for some people.
And because of lack of capacity that you touched on, the pricing of international airfares, but I'll give you the number. So in 2019, which was our best year ever from a volume perspective, the average international economy return out of our core source market, which is Europe, was 600 euros. Our average return airfare today is 1,800 euros, triple.
Wow.
So it makes a huge difference, because those 1,000 euros difference, 1,200 euros difference is 24,000 rand difference.
Yeah.
And if you add that to the land, it makes a difference. So, that's driven by capacity. There's not enough capacity.
So it's demand and not enough supply.
Correct. And the supply is curtailed by the Department of Civil Aviation,
right,
who don't give more landing rights and more slots to other people. And
what's the holdup, guys?
Historically, it used to be protectionism about over SAA.
Yeah.
But
that's not a thing anymore.
It's still around, but
I know it's still around, but it's not a thing to have the protectionism.
I agree with you.
And that's probably an inheritance of the old regime. It's like pre-94 stuff to Suid-Afrikaanse luchtdienst, right?
Luchtdienst.
So that's first bottleneck, if I can call it that.
All right.
The second one is that we certainly need a more efficient, more quickly moving and more entrepreneurial South African tourism. At the end of the day, the consumer, wherever they sit, Gareth, if you sit in Germany, you look German.
So do you, actually. I'm sure you are.
If you sit in Germany, you've got the world as your oyster.
Yeah.
You have hundreds of destinations that you can choose to go on holiday. And you want to make an aspirational choice, and that aspirational choice has to be triggered by something. And that trigger has to be our National Tourism Authority that makes it aspirational to travel to South Africa. And that's currently not happening. It's not happening the way it should.
We need to get all those irritating influencers that Agie and I were talking about earlier and get them to go, you got to come to South Africa posing here. But I do think also we've got to be cognizant of the fact that South Africa is quite a long way for Europeans, certainly North Americans, even Asians. It's a hell of a long way to go. And we are down on the southern tip of Africa, which is a huge continent. If you could go to Dubai, or if you could go to Mexico, or you could go to any of the other places that we discussed earlier, it's not as far to go. So you've really got to make it a sexy attraction.
Yeah, and there's so many aspects of South Africa that are phenomenal. I always felt, for many, many years, I was sales director for Tourvest for Europe. We are counter-seasonal. When it's miserable winter there, we have beautiful summer. We have no time difference to Europe. So you don't arrive in a jet lag for the next 2 weeks before you're allowed to go home. We have unbelievable value. We have the world in one country used to be the byline of South Africa. You got anything from mountains to ocean, from bush to beach. I mean, the diversity of landscapes and experiences we offer is unmatched anywhere in the world. But the potential consumer has to know that. And then he will sit for an extra 4 hours in an aircraft. From a Tourvest perspective, our quickest growth perspective, you asked me earlier on where are we really making impact at the moment, is East Africa. And East Africa purely because they've got more air capacity, they have less of a reputational topic, because they're not cheaper once you're on land. As a matter of fact, they're more expensive once you're on land.
Are you talking about places like Zanzibar and
Kenya and its natural game reserves, Tanzania, as a matter of fact, our
and
fastest
by the way, I
destination.
mean, let's not support South Africa at the cost of any of these countries and vice versa. But there are some magnificent hotels and resorts and really, really top draw stuff up there.
Yeah, magnificent. And I'm sure you're going to speak to Mike just now.
Yeah.
Who's our MD up in East Africa. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful destination. But is it from a quality perspective better than South Africa? I don't think so. Is it diversity as broad as South Africa? I don't think so.
It's accessibility.
It's accessibility. And its reputation.
And sure, they get that migration once a year. We've got all of our animals just chilling in the Kruger Park all year round.
They don't have to move because they've got food the whole
Everything's
year.
There, yeah. Theirs have to keep scavenging.
It's feast time.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's where our growth currently is. But I think it's a lot of what tourism does worldwide, anytime, is driven by air capacity and flight pricing, and that's what we need to work on.
The accountants need to get to work on that immediately.
Yep.
All right, before you go, because I haven't seen you, we certainly haven't had you on the show for a couple of months now.
Tragedy.
I know it's affected everything. The ratings, it's all gone to shit.
Yeah.
But I do have to ask you quickly, because you have been in the travel business for such a long time. You know it like the back of your hand. You've done Indaba, you said 35 years in a row. What's your favorite place to go? And where do you just love? If I give you 6 months off and I said, all right, you can go to any 3 places in the world and it's all expenses paid, do whatever you like, what would you do?
Ooh, difficult.
Where would you go?
I've just come back from St. Helena.
I was about to say.
Okay, so I've got friends. You mentioned the Hibiscus Coast. I've got friends down on the South Coast that are flying to and from St. Helena the whole time. They say it's magnificent. I met Eric Weinstein last year, who's a regular there. Douglas Murray's been there. Some of the other people that I've interviewed.
You should go there.
Apparently, it's unbelievable. So apart from the fact that before you mentioned it, or before I've spoken to any of these people who've been, all I knew about it was the exile site of Napoleon. Right? He's got his house that he lived in there, and he died there. And
it was also the exile place of many of the Boer generals after the Anglo-Boer War.
So why do you love it?
I love it because it's got exceptional scuba diving with whale sharks, and I do a lot of scuba diving. But what I really enjoyed was the combination of history, landscape, ocean.
Apparently, they've got like 4 or 5 different climate zones on this tiny island.
And they've got amazing hiking trails, and we did a lot of hiking there. And it's 4 hours from Joburg, so it's not far. It's halfway to Rio.
Apparently, that airport is newish. It's what, like
opened 2019.
Right.
Before then, the only way to get there was by ship. 2 weeks out of Cape Town.
And there was only one every couple of months. Right?
I mean, there's only 4,000 people that live there. They're called Saints. So St. Helena is one. So how long have I got? I've got 6 months.
You got 6 months. You got 3 places. Where else would you go?
I would go back to the southern tip of Argentina.
Tierra del Fuego.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Lewengo.
Like Patagonia, yeah?
Yeah, Lewengo, Kelly and myself went there early last year in order to see if we can open a drifters operation there, which is still work in progress, but it is magnificently wild, really wild.
Very sparsely populated.
Yeah, wide open spaces.
Right.
It's sort of the Karoo and a bit
Yeah.
colder. So I find that amazing. And then last but not least, I enjoy my my ancestral home country, which is Norway. My mother is from Norway and my grandmother is from Norway. So and I really like the northern part of Norway, the empty spaces, the fjords. So those would be the 6 months that I would spend.
Not a bad selection. Aks, what
Not
do you
at all.
reckon?
Not
10
at
out
all.
of 10. All right. Well, thank you, Martin. It's good to see you. We're going to take a quick break. It's just after 7 o'clock. We'll be back with more, and we've got a couple of guests popping in. In case you're wondering why we're sitting here, we were going to be up on the roof, but we couldn't find the light earlier. I didn't want you staring into darkness, and we decided to come down here because we have all the internet and all the other things that we need. But I promise you, Indaba itself will be a whole lot more interesting than these walls straight behind us. But we will be back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Hello, dog.
Nobody wants to talk about Arsenal.
From a green screen studio in Sandton, South Africa, to the world, it's another episode of The On The Bounce Show. Backed by moderate demand, Dimitri Leontakis returns for part 2 of Sport's Greatest Photographs. A veritable tour de force of sport's greatest moments captured in time and then unpacked right here for your enjoyment. They say a photo is worth 1,000 words, so by that equation, this episode will be at least worth 1 million, or maybe slightly less. It's episode 47. It's the On The Bounce Show. It's Sport's Greatest Photos Part 2. Let's get into it.
Do you lotion in between your butt cheeks?
Do you?
Hell no.
Me a lotion, boss.
Huh?
You never
No.
know when you're gonna need it.
What do you mean?
How? What if you confronted with the situation where
Of what?
there's hair there, boss?
Yeah?
Eish, Pelatinas bumet to buy, fana. We try other tricks.
You get in there.
Nah, I hit like a young squat and then I say ka 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 ka. Once I put wheat in there, what a terrible idea. Yo, mpana.
It burnt you, surely.
Like my ball sack was like boiling.
Nigga, the most
Oh, my
sensitive place
days.
is your balls,
Yeah,
bro, you
bro.
know?
That was the worst idea. And I put it like in my ass crack. So now I'm
what the
there
hell,
under the
Warwick?
tap like,
How are
Bloody
you?
cold water.
How are you? I just can't see the picture, but I'll be
I'm
sorry.
not trying to picture it.
I'm
Listen.
being sorry why I asked
I'm
this.
not trying
How
to
are
picture
you
it.
literally like, are you doing this and are you like, what are you doing?
Back. Now, one silverback gorilla versus 100 men. Who would survive?
I mean, come on, guys. The gorilla is not going to survive.
nah, the gorilla will the guys up.
Fuck outta
It's a
here.
start.
Nah,
It's a start.
It's a start.
We might even hit each other by mistake there, you know what I'm telling
Okay,
you?
but the problem is with the 100 dudes.
And what kind
Who's
of
going
100
first?
That's not what was asked.
Nah, the gorilla's like, let's
Nobody said that you must bring in your security knowledge here.
phela mina ngiyinsizwa mina ngiyinsizwa
Let's see what James says.
Just give the whole SA tourism marketing budget to Tourvest. Yes, Kevin. No.
Cool. All right. Are we on? We're back. Sorry if I look a little dazed and confused. We were just checking with James whether we are actually on or not. All right, let's get going. We've got lots to do, and we've only got an hour left here in the show in Durban. We're doing this especially because Africa's Travel Indaba is taking place here. Massive expo. All the big players are here, and we're talking to some of the people from, among others, Martin Wiest's team, who we just we were speaking to Martin just a moment ago, and it seems that Martin is a name that they use quite a lot in that department.
Yeah, and different variations. So
Yeah.
we saw Martin Vist. I think a little later we'll be introduced to Martijn.
Martijn, right.
So it's just a variation of
And this,
Martijn.
of course, for those who have been sleeping under a rock, is Agie Adams. He is, of course, travel.co.za. That's the place you got to go. And he's also our man when it comes to trying to find out anything to do with the best destinations in the world, the best planning, the best tips, the best flights, the best everything. And he's not a slouch when it comes to this information either.
No.
In fact, Agie's so good that last night I messaged him and said, shit, I haven't got my plug for my laptop. He's like, no problem. Is this the one? He sends me a photograph. I'm like, that's the one. Even sorted that problem out.
Now you learn that when you travel, don't forget these things and have a spare one.
Do you use an actual list?
I don't.
You just know.
I got a go bag. That's
Okay.
it's packed and ready.
A go bag.
Yeah, I mean we travel quite a bit. You know this. I mean
You travel.
not
Fortunes.
not as much as people like Martin Mellaar as well. I mean they
Yeah.
travel quite a bit. But if you're prepared to be out of the office traveling for at least a week every month, then you get used to it, and your bags are
So what's in your go bag?
Well, obviously you've got a change of clothes for one night.
Basic toiletries.
Yeah, basic toiletries and your equipment, which is the most important thing. Your MacBook, your computer, PC, your laptop, charger, mouse charger, very important. Don't
Oh,
forget
right.
the mouse charger. And obviously your phone chargers.
Right.
You need a phone charger, you need a power bank charger, all of those things. There's a section in my bag, and I don't know if you've seen my bag. So I've got one of those specialist bags. There's a section for every little piece of cable. So when you open it, you can see if something's missing. You can just replenish, and you're ready to go.
It's very organized.
Yeah, you got to be
One
organized.
one of these days, we're going to do a show on packing.
Oh yeah.
Because that is an art. And you know, these people who have a whole series on YouTube that you could watch.
Yeah, and I think
figure out all this stuff.
I think we, as South Africa matures in this travel industry as well, with our low cost carriers, I think we'll find people like Safe Airlift and them following suit, like Ryanair and stuff, where the restrictions on baggage become a little bit more strict in terms of size of bag, for example. Before you get on the plane, you're actually going to need to fit your bag into a little compartment. If it doesn't fit in, you got to pay. I mean, that happens all over Europe. And it opens
I saw a very undisciplined woman on the flight yesterday who had 3 bags. She's meant to, and she says, Anna, I've got no checked-in luggage. You're like, no, you
actually do.
You're the problem. Yeah. Right?
So you could do something about packing, because there's technology with bags and vacuum technology that you can do to squeeze as much in as possible.
And packing it flat when you fly back from somewhere, you know, rather than just throwing it in bunched up. And I mean, they're little things that I've learned along the way, but I'm sure you know all the tricks as well.
Yeah.
All right. So we were talking to Martin just a moment ago from Tourvest Destination Management. So what I want to do now is bring in Martijn Mellaar, who's the Chief Operating Officer for Sense of Oceans. And we're going to talk a little bit about Madagascar. Come and grab a seat here.
How are you, Martijn?
Nice to see you. How are you, Martijn?
Good.
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 So actually, Madagascar seems to me to be a very interesting thing. You're not just in charge of Madagascar.
Correct.
They told me you have everything to do with oceans everywhere.
Aaron, I represent the Sense of Ocean brand for Tourvest.
Okay.
So I often say we have a lot of safari operators. I'm the beach boy of the club.
Beach boy.
That sounds very exciting.
So I started as a own company for 25 years, concentrating on Mozambique.
Okay.
And then partnered up with Tourvest. And they told me, you know what, let's open a brand. We have Sense of Africa all over the Southern Africa and East. And I thought, okay, I'll go to Madagascar because it was an interesting island. And
well, let's start with...
We opened our office there.
Let's start with Mozambique, because you've got lots of experience there too. And we were talking about places in the world that people want to go to that are affordable and that are beautiful, and where there are lots of sort of secret things that are completely unknown to most people. I mean, Mozambique used to be a bit like that. I don't know if it still is.
Funny enough, as you say that, I started in 1998 selling Mozambique, and I had 3 topics that said there's no mass tourism, there's little flights are expensive, but there's only a few flights. You can have empty beaches. I'm now in 2025 selling Mozambique at the Indaba yesterday morning, and I used the same topic.
Same thing.
Same thing. So actually, Mozambique didn't get involved, but is it good or what for tourism? As a tourism operator, it's not great. We would like to have more numbers for the country. And actually, they have very little support from the tourism board. They have a lot of natural resources. So all the interest of the governments go to the natural source, and there's not so much tourism, unfortunately. But the place is still unique. So those travelers who would like to add that to a safari in Southern Africa, it's really a place to go to. Place to go to.
What about Madagascar? Because Madagascar has always been, to me, a bit of a mystery. Often South Africans in particular, and since a lot of people who watch and listen to this show are South African, we've got listeners and viewers all over the world, but many of them will know more about Mauritius or even Reunion across the Madagascan island and on the other side of the Indian Ocean than they will about Madagascar itself. But it's a fascinating place. It's huge also. And again, apart from unpronounceable names, it's not very well known to most people.
No, I think the best promotion ahead was the movie Madagascar.
Yeah, with
that really put it on the map.
Cute little creatures.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Sure. And then the version of Penguins of Madagascar, right? So there's not a penguin to be seen on that. No, it's the third biggest island in the world. It has actually the same as the elevation is up to 1,500 meters of Antananarivo, the capital. So people think, oh, I'm going to another Indian Ocean island. It's not. It's 1,600 kilometers by 600 kilometers.
That's massive.
It's huge
compared to a Mauritius.
Yes, it's big. So there's a lot of tours. You know, the tours compromise of culture, of nature, and there's a huge amount of endemics. All plants are endemic. The animals are, and they till today discovered new chameleons that never found subspecies. And and then the guy goes, "Yes, there it is." So where? Yeah, there it is. And you can literally put it on the nail, and that's a chameleon. And then
wow.
While you do safaris on vehicles in Africa, there everything is by foot. You go into the rainforest and actually go discover. And it appeals.
And from a climate and topography and vegetation point of view, is it also varied? Do you get places that are more like tropical island, other places that are more mountainous, and what sort of zones do they have on that island? Because I imagine they have many.
Like I said, the center is on a plateau up to 1,500 meters altitude, and then you go to the north, Nosy Bay, which is the most well-developed, comparable to Seychelles and Mauritius. They have the blue beaches and blue ocean, the white beaches, but also very little tourism. There's a few charter flights just on that Nosy Bay area. There's a direct flight from Johannesburg, but then you go to Ile Sainte Marie on the east side, which is a small island just off the coast, and that's fantastic. And there's barely no one.
Wow.
Prevailed. Unfortunately, in the Indian Ocean, every year, February, March, you get hit by cyclones. So that island being on the coast.
What's the best time to go?
So Nosy Bay is naturally protected by that because they're on the northwest. And otherwise, but they are the two prime spots. And then the southern part for the far is another place where the beach is. But I think Madagascar is not a pure beach destination. No. It has a beautiful culture. It's called part of Africa, but the population comes from Indonesia. The population is not
really
the African population that came to Madagascar came at a later stage and not from the beginning.
That's interesting.
So you will see.
So the Mauritius got the Indians, so Indonesians. That's probably correct. The Dutch bringing the slaves down.
100%. It comes from
all the way there and stopped there. From some slaves off, came back to Cape Town.
The spice route.
Yeah, correct. And then what language do they speak? French there.
French and Malagasy. And then there's some sub languages, but the French occupied it and banned it in 1972. They got their independence, but French is still the spoken language.
And is English well understood though?
Like in the touristic area.
In the tourist
long as if you go off the beaten track, French, a few French words would help you. Okay, so I'll guide you if you want.
Let me ask you this: do they have internet connection?
Yes.
No. So Google Translate will work.
It will work. Your Google Maps will work, so you get around. Okay. You'll find your networks. And I think the French have heavily supported this country throughout, even also after the independence. And so yeah, now the connectivity from cell phone, from Wi-Fi, the country is well run. They have a quite active tourism board as well, what supports us on different shows all around the globe. So yeah, now we.
Well, Kevin says great surfing around Madagascar. Is that your experience? Surfing.
I'm not. Is it normal surfing or is it kite surfing? I don't know. Yeah, there is certain areas.
That's all he gives me.
It's probably in the southeast for the fun where they do it. There's certain areas in Nosy Bay where they do it, but I would not have the specific knowledge.
Okay. Well, if you give us more specifics, Kevin, I mean, don't be so general.
Yeah.
What do you expect Martijn to do with this? So what other kinds of things are you doing? We talked about Madagascar and Mozambique as destinations, but tell me about what sort of...
We'll do a bit of overall. We do overland trips. We do self-drive trips for clients who want. We organize guided tours. Madagascar is a typical guided tours like Kenya, where you don't go on a self-drive. There you take every tour you take is or fly in with a plane or domestic flights, or you take a guided tour. And guides, first of all, support you with the local communities as well, because every single person in our office there is a Malagasy, and also the guide.
Is it expensive?
No, it's not. Mozambique is compared to, if I compare it to South Africa, Mozambique is quite expensive. Madagascar is much cheaper. The hotel rate would easily be under for decent style under €100 per night.
Wow. Okay, so there's something to think about too.
Yeah,
the flight, and I have quite
3-hour flight to Madagascar
from Johannesburg. Yes, from Johannesburg.
That's also good.
Yes, 4 times a week, but it's Airlink, so it's not given, but it's regular, and once a week in and once a week on to Nosy Bay. So if you want to do a beach extension from South Africa, I would say fly to Nosy Bay and have yourself swim with the turtles, do good diving, do a bit of, and people come to Madagascar for one thing. They want to see the lemur. They want to see
King Julian.
King Julian. Correct. So King Julian is widely seen in different areas. Not always authentic.
And there are other amazing primates there. They've got things called tarsiers, which are little, also with the big eyes.
It's called.
And the eye is the one with the long finger that scratches things out of the...
And so the eye is almost
hideous.
Extinct.
Those things are scary looking.
Yeah, no, they're pretty because of horrible.
Oh my God.
But the thing is, they are seen as bad animals by the locals, and they're actually almost driven to an extinct, because they predict if you kill an eye, and they are the demons. They bring wind, so you can't go out fishing, and they are actually heavily hunted down. And
James, see if you can find a picture of one of those so that people can see it. Tarsier and then an I. Aye.
Yeah, correct.
So Martijn, we're gonna be in touch to get some tours from you.
Yes, for sure.
We want to promote it on travel.co.za.
And then there's certain areas where in nature reserves where they still kept the eye, so you can go and see them, and they actually worthwhile go look at.
They almost look like those things.
The Gremlins, the movie.
The
Gremlins.
The Gremlin.
Or like that creature that lives with Jabba the Hutt.
Oh, he's he's kept.
That thing, his pet. That's what it looks like.
And I think the Gremlins took them as an example.
Yeah, probably.
All right, well, that sounds excellent. So we've got Madagascar, Mozambique. We've got all kinds of things that we didn't have on our agenda before, and that's the point of this show this morning, is to kind of open up people's ideas and minds to travel destinations they might not have thought of. Madagascar, right here.
Yes.
3 hours, cheaper, lots of things that you wouldn't get to do anywhere else. And if you want to see the lemurs, yes, you can see
you have to go there.
lemurs.
You
must calm down.
Don't go to a zoo in the world. Come to Madagascar and find them in the natural habitats, because they're still left.
So here we go. Let's just see what Bitcoin Bot says. The language isn't the barrier. It's the fact that you need to go deep away from the little tourist destinations that they have. And obviously there they will speak French or Malagasy.
Yes.
So English is not going to help you in...
No, not in a remote area. Like Nosy Bay and Antenna in the international hotels and lodges, you would definitely... get away with English, going off the, like I said, off the beaten track.
That's why it's great to do the tour, because you've got a guide that's going to help you.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
That's why it's guided everywhere, and you're taken good care of.
All right, very good. Well, thank you very much, and it's nice to meet you and to have you on the show for the first time.
Likewise, thank you.
Very good.
And I'll see you in Madagascar.
Absolutely. It sounds
Did
very,
we do
very
a
good.
breakfast show from Madagascar?
Yeah,
Let's
why not?
do it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
It-
Martijn.
Oh, no, thanks,
we,
Agie.
we would have to wake up a bit later there because we'd be
That's
earlier.
only 1 hour.
An
It's only
hour.
1 hour. Nothing
we
wrong
can
with that.
we can do that.
I love that. All right, very, very good. We're also going to meet. So there's a tarsier. That's
Thanks,
a
Martijn.
tarsier. Look at those eyes. You think they're big enough? Show them the eye.
Yeah, the eye.
That's the one we want to look at. James, do you even listen to me? It's unbelievable.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see if we can find that picture.
Wonderful. Good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
Thank you.
Martijn.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Have a great show.
Bye bye.
Very cool. Okay. That's the tarsier. You've shown that already. I'm talking about the eye. It's a different thing. Pay attention. AYE. Jesus. Hard work getting good help on the show these days. I've been to Malta, Taiwan, China, Mexico, the Bahamas, Caribbean, Jamaica, Argentina, Chile, to name a few. The language doesn't stop me, says Bitcoin. But yeah, I think probably that would be a consideration for some people, language.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you don't want to go somewhere. I mean, I can't.
Exactly. It depends on the type of traveler that you are. So if you are the adventurous type, like Bitcoin Bud, don't let that stop you. It's part of the
hell no.
adventure. But there are people, it's genuine concern, about communication is really important. In instances like that, it's really cool to go with a tour group.
Yeah.
And like Martijn and Sense of Oceans do offer that kind of experience where in a guided group, it's just you and your family and you've got a tour guide that's taking you to all these places. They speak the language, they know the
Right.
culture, and they will keep you comfortable through the entire journey.
I want to bring Michael Njogu in, who is the Chief Operating Officer for Sense of Africa East. There's an eye. See?
There we go.
It's a little bit like a gremlin. It's not as ugly.
No, that's ugly. It's not
I
so
think
bad.
that's quite cute, actually.
That's quite cute.
But you notice it's got that,
Look at the finger, man.
it's got that one long middle finger, which is not because it wants to give you, rude hand gestures. It uses that to scratch into the bark and to these holes where worms and grubs and things live, and that's what it eats.
It's a tool.
Yes.
There you go.
It's developed this evolutionarily. It's not there to give you the middle finger. Do you know what
It
I mean?
actually is quite cute.
It's not as ugly as people say it is. It's very cute, but apparently endangered, as we found out from Martijn. Come and have a seat, Michael. Nice to see you, man.
How's it, Michael?
Hey,
Good.
how you doing, guys?
So you're here to represent East Africa for us today.
yes,
Yeah.
East Africa is actually a few countries.
No, sure. So we were talking very generally earlier. We were talking about
Kenya.
Tanzania. We were
Yeah.
talking about Kenya. You've also got, who else have you got in your
So
portfolio? Uganda
there's Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and Rwanda.
and Rwanda.
Obviously, Zanzibar is part
Sure.
of Tanzania.
Okay, so we mentioned Zanzibar already. We can talk about that if you want to, but I'm sure you've got other places on your agenda.
I mean, East Africa is obviously seen as one destination for many, but depending on your interest, then we sort of direct you.
All right, well, let's start
accordingly.
with the one that I don't think many people would start with, and that's
Yeah.
Uganda. I mean,
Yeah.
what's happening there at the moment, and what sort of tourism is there in Uganda generally?
So Uganda has been known mostly for gorilla trekking or
Right.
primate trekking, if you
Okay.
will. But over the years, the local authorities there have tried to sort of bring in a little bit more, building circuits for safari, the Big Five safari. If
They've
you
got a
will.
lot of sort of game reserves there. and
Yes,
national
yeah.
conservation
So
efforts.
over and above the gorilla trekking, you can also do safari. You can also do some adventure stuff. Obviously
So
on the
I would
Nile.
imagine, sorry to interrupt you,
Oh, yeah.
Michael, but I'd imagine that stuff is mostly on the western side where the border with Rwanda is.
So that's the gorilla trekking,
Right.
the Virunga Mountains. That's on the border
Okay.
side with Rwanda. So they actually do share sort of the forest there. Yeah. So you can do the gorilla trekking either on the Uganda side or the Rwanda side.
And what other stuff do you have in Uganda? Because we're missing out, obviously, on the whole eastern side, which is the coast, and there must be some beautiful places along there.
So Uganda is landlocked.
Yeah.
So
Uganda's
basically,
sorry, I'm talking
yeah.
about Tanzania. Sorry.
Yeah. So so Uganda basically, adventure stuff. Hiking. Obviously, they have the Rwenzori Mountains. You can do bungee jumping. You can do water sports. We actually do have a property, Wild Waters in Jinja. Yeah, so there's quite a bit of stuff that you can do, away from the safari, because a lot of people see East Africa as a whole as a safari and beach destination. But now it's changing. It's changing because there's more that you can do outside the typical safari or even gorilla trekking.
And I suppose just before we get off of the animals, because that's a big part of Kenya too.
Yeah.
You've got places, Mombasa, I imagine, is also high on people's lists of places that they want to go to. But, when it comes to Ngorongoro Crater and places like that, those are also high on people's lists.
Oh, yeah. So,
and that's just that's not necessarily for the animals, but you go there because it's just such an incredible natural wonder to see.
Yeah, exactly. So I think to unpack East Africa, you have to look at it in 3-4 dimensions. So the first is the safari, and the safari is typically, wildlife, nature, and so on. And then there is a coast. The East Africa coast is very well known. So it comprises of, Mombasa, north coast, south coast. There is also Zanzibar, there are sections along Dar es Salaam, but Dar es Salaam is a city, so people will not necessarily go there for the beach. They will go there for the history, the heritage tours there.
And of course, Agie mentioned Kilimanjaro as well.
Yeah. So there is also for the adventurers, there is also the hiking. So you can do the Kilimanjaro. You can do it. You can hike a few days, or you can go all the way to the top for about a week. So that's the other dimension. Yeah. Then away from the safari and beach, then obviously there is the Ngorongoro, for example. This is really it's an amazing wonder because it's a massive hole, if you will. It's a 19 kilometer. It's a 19 kilometer, 600 meters.
It's a crater of an extinct volcano.
It's a 610 meters deep.
Wow! What are those?
Is that deep?
Yeah, and 19.
And the animals are in there and they can't get out.
In fact, they also risk inbreeding, especially the lions, because they never really get out. So there's that. You did mention earlier about the wildebeest migration. They kind of like to change the diet. It's not that they don't have enough to eat, so they move around a little bit.
What about that place where they've got active tectonic activity? They've got like these huge hot mud pools and things.
Yeah,
there are all kinds of interesting things that happen there.
So
old volcanoes that come up every now and then.
Yeah, exactly. So there is Nyiragongo in Congo. So there's that whole belt that comes up every once in a while. There's hot springs in Bogoria. This is in Kenya now. Yeah. So there's a lot of volcanic activity in that region. Actually, in Kenya, just recently, we had a massive crack in the Rift Valley. And there's been rife speculation that the continent might actually split into two because of that.
And we would be on the east side if it does split all the way down, right?
Yes.
Oh. Okay, well, this is fascinating. I mean, there's so much to see in that part of the world.
Yeah.
I know some people who just recently went to Zanzibar, and they said it's magnificent.
Yeah.
Another friend of mine was in Kenya. She said it's beautiful. I mentioned to Martin Wiest earlier. Kenya's got some amazing 5-star resorts and beautiful beach destinations.
Yeah, Zanzibar is obviously very popular with South Africans. It's nice and warm. For those who've been there before, people will also combine that with Serengeti, for example. It's very accessible. You can fly around quite easily. Kenya, of course, it's very close. It's only 4 hours from here. It's very well served by multiple flights. There's Kenya Airways, there's Airlink, and
Somebody
others.
told me Kenya Airways is great. They were on there the other day.
Yeah.
No, and they had very nice things to say about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great service. I flew down here on Kenya Airways. It's nice and quick. So and obviously the connection the connectivity out of Nairobi also makes it very easy for people who are traveling outbound.
And just because people always go to these beautiful or safari or beach or whatever destinations, what's Nairobi like?
Nairobi is a big city, just like any other in the world. It's great. I know people used to talk a lot, especially South Africans, used to talk about traffic in Nairobi. That has appears to have been resolved now.
Oh, really?
We have a lot of infrastructural development. The gastronomy of the city has just changed over the last years, and it's a great city to hang out during the day and during the night. Some very good hotels have come up in the last, in the recent past. So it's basically a cosmopolitan city. There are so many people there from all walks of life, from different countries. So everybody would feel at home.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so East Africa is now on the agenda too.
Yeah.
Okay, well done. Thank you, Michael. Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah,
last
you.
Last question, Michael. Let somebody one of the comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've got first-hand experience, dealing with the gorilla trekking and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a meme going around. Who would win? 100 men versus a gorilla.
Wow.
For me, it's a gorilla any day of the week.
Yeah, I think so
I'm going to take the strongest man and his hardest punch. Will feel like that.
Yeah. I think the gorilla will win.
Well, I think I leave that out there.
Especially
but those guys are massive, man. And they're used
big
to
silverback.
And they're used to very rough terrains,
Yeah.
Good question. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, have a nice day.
Very good.
Cheers.
That sounds like something we've got to put on the menu. Is East Africa, so pay attention to that. Let us know in the comments where else you would like to find out about and what you'd like to know that we may or may not have covered yet. I also want to get Paul Brinkman in here, who's the Chief Operating Officer for Sense of Africa, Namibia and Botswana. Of course, this is right here on our... what's that?
No.
Come and have a seat.
Yeah.
Come and have a seat, Paul. Nice to see you.
How's it, Paul?
Thank you.
Good. Thank you for joining us. So everybody always goes, oh, well, travel, tourism, we have to go far. We have to go, extreme distances, 16-hour flights and all the rest of it. Actually, we've got a gold mine in Botswana and Namibia. These are two magnificent places. Botswana especially is so damn close if you're in Johannesburg that you'd be stupid not to go. The flight is shorter than it is to Durban.
I like that. The flight is shorter than to Durban. It's a chip and a putt. You get in your car.
Drive
across the border.
And really, Botswana is just a treasure trove of places, specifically if you're interested in going to the national reserves, the animals, if you want to see that. Up in the north, there are things to see which you don't get anywhere else. There's the Okavango. There's the places like Maun, which are extraordinary.
One horse town.
Yeah, but what a place to be.
Town.
And then you've got reserves in the south that are just hundreds of kilometers of salt pans, right? So, Botswana should be on everybody's agenda.
And you know what? There's actually a lot of South Africans who do go across. It gets a bit complex when you're doing Southern Africa and you're selling Botswana to a South African. And maybe it's a little bit the same in that way because it's like you have so much at home that you could go to.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Botswana is totally different. And let's just jump across the desert part of it and we go to the Delta. And when I say the Delta, really just that wetland area from Maun, on the west to where we have the Chobe to Kasane on the other side. And then you go, and this is actually for anyone, never exclude the internationals. For the South Africans, you just don't have that kind of wildlife, bush, wet safari.
Well, I've been there. You've gone a game drive. It's in a car. In Botswana, you're on a boat.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it is something else.
Listen, I've only seen these beautiful documentaries that they make because I haven't been to the Okavango yet. But it seems like one of the most magical places on earth because you just don't. There's nowhere else that there's a delta that big inland.
Yeah.
You're not on the sea, and yet you've got kilometers and kilometers and kilometers of wetland that is just thriving and teeming with
green.
wildlife. Yeah, green.
You know what's really great about Botswana, and when you pick us when you're there, is when you're sitting and it's whether you're at a lodge or at those adventure camps or camping, and you're just sitting on your chair and you have this fire, and directly over across you have a buffalo. It's not going to say there's a lion because all of us get a bit nervous, but you should be getting nervous with a buffalo in any event. But it's, how did the guys say? It's raw. Yeah. It's, you guys have game reserves here and you can get pampered, or you can go camping and it's great outside. But when you're sitting there, it's a little bit like pulling yourself back in time when people used to travel by foot and horseback.
Yeah,
and there's nothing really between you
and if you speak a little Setswana, then you can speak all the languages that you need to get around in Botswana.
You know what? You really get away with English. You guys are going to laugh at this because you're going to cross the border, and you know how everyone speaks Afrikaans.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, they don't.
No way.
No, they don't.
So if a dog chases you, I can't say "futsek."
Maybe the dog will get
All right. What about Namibia? Because I don't want us to run out of time here, but Namibia is also just
this
unbelievable
green
place.
Namibia.
This green Namibia.
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to arrive and they've seen the pictures.
Yeah,
and
desert, Namib, skeleton coast.
So at the moment, it's a little bit like going to Scotland.
No.
Because
what is it? Because of all the rain?
Because of the rain.
I saw some of the videos. People were going out to their homes, going to check this river that started going again.
As Namibians, we've all been driving, and cars have been taking a bit of a hammering because it's spectacular. So one, we're not used to green. Actually, we're not used to rivers or water actually flowing. So the minute we see a river, everyone gets in their car to say, guys, this is a unique event. Let's go out there. But I was traveling recently. So the Northwest is a lot of mountain areas, which is why I say it's a bit like Scotland, because normally it's these red colors, these, and at the moment it's green. I mean, literally, you're looking at hills, mountains, and there's grass everywhere. And it's not, if you look at it from a distance, it's green. If you get closer, there's green shrubs and. But it's
how long you reckon that's going to last? Because that's like a disappearing thing. It's
there we go. Yeah, people
limited
might want
opportunity
to just be there to see that.
Yes, it is unique. It'll happen once every 7-8 years. So we've had a lot of Europeans traveling at the moment, and the guys are going, it's bad, and we're being blocked by rivers, and we're going, guys, we understand it, and it's complex and it's difficult. But this is a once in a lifetime. This is not something you're going to go home and compare to others.
Now, I'm going to bring up something that I'm interested in that other people might not be. But I mean, my family been shooting in Namibia before, which is lots of fun. And there obviously you can arrange for those kinds of things specifically if you're not just the sort of person who likes to look. But there are obviously these vast spaces there. So you've got people who've got farms that are kilometers and kilometers big. The actual natural reserves, though, are also substantial.
Yeah.
In both Botswana, which we've discussed, and in Namibia, where these animals are protected and where you have unique vegetation in different parts of it. So what kind of stuff do you like to do when you're there?
Not hunting.
Not hunting.
But not because I don't have any moral disagreement with it. But I'm one of those lazy people. I like to go to the beach.
It's really hard work. So are there beaches in Namibia is an interesting question, because you've got a terrible coast of cold water.
We have really great beaches like Cape Town. Only the really
they
brave
look nice, but you don't get in.
They're spectacular. They're harsh. You can drive your car. Unlike the others, we literally can drive on.
I mean, we were just talking about the east coast of Africa, where the water's lovely and warm. Not on the west.
No, it's a little bit like the guys in East Europe and that. The only people who go to our beaches is us. Can't sell this to anyone. It's an exercise in endurance to get in. It's like get in, get out, get in, get out. Okay, now I'm cold. Now I can.
There's a cold plunge with craze.
Sure, people are going to the gym and they're paying huge memberships to go and hop in a tank of cold water. You can go and do this anytime you like in Namibia.
Well, you know what's really great? Between Walfish Bay and Swakopmund, we have Long Beach.
Okay.
And come Christmas, everyone arrives there with their own car. And they put up their braais and they put up their volleyball nets, and you've got like 8-9 kilometers of people just chilling on the beach doing their own thing.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Tell me, what's the best way in and out of Namibia and Botswana? Do we just go to Gaborone? Do we go to Windhoek?
So I'm often surprised because then guys will say, and then I'll rent a car. Because I honestly go, it's a chip and a putt, guys. It's you do one quick stretch, you have your own car.
Right.
That is cost saving. And then
Right.
you can spend your money on more activities and
So
the
do
other
you drive
exciting
through the
stuff.
Northern Cape up into Namibia?
Oh,
How long does it take
I
you?
used to study in Stellenbosch, so I drove
Okay.
up and down all the time.
And how long does it take you?
How fast do you drive?
Average.
Guys, it's
How good
15.
are the roads?
It's 50. The roads are very good.
Okay.
Our tar roads are very, very good. Look, we've had rain, and so we have potholes, but that's literally now in town, in Windhoek, and
Okay.
the rest of the roads, the tar road network is really good. And even our gravel roads are, look, if you push it, you could do it in your Polo. I just wouldn't recommend it. Road infrastructure is really good.
So we don't
Decent.
need to fly in.
You don't need to fly in at all.
South
And
Africans
obviously
love a
for-
road trip.
For Botswana, that's also true, right? More so.
So Botswana, your question is, are you tough enough to go 4x4ing yourself in those areas? And I would go for your average South African, yes.
Okay.
Easily.
All right. Just make sure you've got good enough knowledge of your car and
Yeah.
the road.
Look, the old problem used to be you could get lost because the road work in Botswana, it literally does this. You think
Yeah.
you're following a route, and there goes every time you come to the cross in the roads and you go, I don't know which way to go.
Oh, shit.
The truth is all of them end up in the same place.
Yeah.
But if you're nervous, you don't know that.
But also now, I mean, there's no excuse for people getting lost.
No, 100%.
That would have been a thing once.
100%.
These days, you've got internet coverage over most of the country.
Yeah.
There may be very, very isolated places in the
And
Gemspot
listen, you
National
don't even need a
Park, for
proper
example.
GPS. You can go with Maps.me.
Right. There we go. You can even download the
No,
goddamn
you
maps
just-
beforehand, you know? There's
Yeah.
no excuse. All right. Well, thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you here. So we've now really looked at.
I want to see the green Namibia.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I want to see it. Looks cool.
Welcome.
Yeah.
But I would actually come to the dry
What's the
Namibia.
nearest town to all of that in the northwest?
No, it's Swakopmund and Windhoek. It's
Still a
always your
long way.
base to
Yeah.
start from, and then when you go those rural areas, it's a lot of small towns, so you can pick up everything you need or want. But in general, I'd also go, for the Namibian tourism industry gives SADC rates. They look after South Africans. The way we will charge guests and the way we will charge SADC is totally different, because Southern Africa we treat as ambassadors. Everyone
Okay.
else we treat as paying tourists.
All right. That sounds good to me.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
very much, Paul. Paul Brinkman is the Chief Operating Officer
Cheers.
for Sense of
Slide
Africa,
in front of
Namibia, and Botswana. No problem. And we've got one more guest that I want to bring in is Dieter Holler, who is the Chief Information Officer for Tourvest Destination Management. Come and have a seat.
How's it, Dieter?
Hey,
Nice
good
to
morning.
see you,
Morning,
Dieter.
morning, Gareth.
Dieter,
Morning,
how are
Agie.
you?
Good morning.
Good.
I'm very well, thank you. Good,
We
good, good.
saved-
Bit of an early start this morning, but all good.
We saved the best for last. So let's talk about, we're all here for the Indaba, which is the big reason that we decided to do a 2-hour special from here this morning. And Agie's been terrific. And we've got to speak to Martin and everybody else. But I wanted to find out from you the business of this and the stuff that's happening. We were talking about AI earlier and how that's impacting stuff. What's the state of technology and the latest innovation in the world of travel?
Right. So AI is obviously the buzzword, no doubt, and of course that would come up. And if you ask a IT person about AI these days, you're kind of like, oh, okay, what that
But
means?
anyway,
that
because-
means
because
means
everybody
every-
goes,
that means so many things.
Oh,
you know, and
everybody's such an
it's-
expert on it,
it's-
and
it's been around, in some form or shape for actually quite a long time, be it machine learning and only now in the last 2-3 years has it become really public knowledge, because they became language models, and we were able to interact with these things in the way that we speak normal
Sure.
English language or whatever it may be. So in terms of tourism, 2 or 3 years ago, when these large language models made their big debut, we treat it with caution. We still treat it with caution, because if you spend some time with your AI agent, with your AI buddy, you notice, especially on subject matters that you have intense knowledge on, you do notice that it can spin you some very, very
it makes stuff up.
It makes stuff up, and it sounds perfect.
What do they call it? Hallucination.
Hallucination,
Yeah.
exactly. And you can set temperatures and all sorts of things if you know how. And that is the challenge. So we started with a very cautious approach, and we included it in products that we have that we call like Itinerary Builder, which are digital representations of travel itineraries. And we used it there in a very cautious way with a disclaimer, I must say, to say this is AI generated, just to give the person, you know, an overview of what the itinerary is about. But yes, it would hallucinate. It would bring in, you know, all sorts of suggestions to, you know, enjoy the nightlife, you know, maybe in a city that's not so safe or something. And you're like, no, that's not what we want to be telling, you know, our guests. So it's a lot of fine tuning. And obviously these models have also gotten better. So it is more at a stage now where it is usable for that sense. And you can nearly take the disclaimer away, you know, to say, okay, this is now pretty good. There's still lots to do. There's a long way to go to, let's say, replace our humans that are consulting, and it's not that are consulting travel, all the exciting things that my colleagues told you about, and actually replacing is not going to be the thing. It's more, it helps them, it supplements them in their tasks that they have to perform, speeds them up, and allows them to offer a better service. So that's what we're aiming for. We have some more ambitious projects in the pipeline at the moment using AI as well. So where we want to use it to interpret certain contracts because we believe it has the power to do that, which is a very human task, very time-consuming task, and various others that we have in the pipeline just as proof of concept type of projects. And if we find success with it, then we roll out. So that's our AI journey at the moment.
What are you excited about personally? Like, what kind of tasks can it take off of your list that you'd rather not be doing?
Well, it's
that's where a lot of people want to start.
The advantage is it's an advanced form of automation. That's really what it is. So the dream would be, of course, that if we receive requests via email is still a very important, you know, part of communicating in this industry, that there is a way to transpose that email into some form of structured data that we can then process that information automatically into reservations platforms downstream all the way to the supplier, the transfer, the hotel, and so on. So that is the dream. And again, not to take away from the human being that is doing it at the moment, but there's no doubt the human being that is doing it at the moment, their knowledge is still required. They just with everything will be expected to do more work in a shorter piece of time. It's an extra tool on your desk, just like in the last 100 years, at some point, a calculator ended up on someone's desk. Maybe before that was an abacus, became a calculator, then became a spreadsheet.
It's amazing that we have to
it's an evolution.
We have to keep telling people these are all just tools. They're not necessarily going to change and consume every other part of your life. AI is a big deal, but I think it's also being overplayed by so many people.
Absolutely. You got to, and it's difficult to filter through that hype. You know, what is real, what is not, and it's difficult to know sometimes. It's such a rapidly changing space, of course. But yeah, we'll see what comes with caution. It's risky just to, you know, roll out AI generated content to your customers.
I mean,
you still want to be vetting.
It's just told me now. Go into the the Durban CBD tonight. It'll be lots of fun.
Well, that's the kind of thing, you know.
Should I not do it?
Yeah. It would be great if that was
true.
Would you
recommend? 5 out of 10 would recommend.
Know the spots.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask you the same thing I asked Martin earlier, because we're gonna wrap this up in the next couple of minutes. But where in the world do you still want to go? And Agie, you're going to have to think about yours as well, because your list of possible destinations has got smaller and smaller because you've gone everywhere.
Yeah.
But we just heard about green Namibia. I mean, there's something that you wouldn't get to see too often in your life, and that sounds pretty exciting. Yeah. Take a quick trip up there, see it once in a lifetime, head back and say to people, no, Namibia is not a desert. Please, I've got pictures to prove it. Where would you go?
Look, I absolutely love traveling in South Africa, and I've got a deep passion for travel and for Africa.
Okay, well, I'm
the IT guy in this business, but I'm at heart, I'm very much a travel person, and I love to keep it local. And you know, all those destinations that we went through this morning, you know, I haven't been to all of them, so Madagascar is a big thing on my list. I'd love to explore. My personal favorite that's outside the scope of where we are operational is probably something like the Amazon in South America, which is something, you know, where we're not
Pretty
active,
exotic.
but it's just
Sure.
something I would love to experience at some point.
Aren't you worried about all those insects? There are insects.
No, not
insects this fucking big.
I'd go to the rainforest. I'd go there before Australia.
Yeah, that's probably a good
Because
point.
Australia,
Yeah.
you find even more dangerous shit in your garage.
Yeah. They saw an anaconda in the river the other day. I posted on my Instagram. I don't know if it's fake. or if it's real.
It's difficult to tell.
How would you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
This thing was enormous and terrifying. Now, I do agree with you, like the rainforest would be fun, but apparently you get bitten by and eaten by so many different kinds of insects. that it's
Maybe
very
you're
unfortunate.
watching too much Survivor or something. I don't know. I don't know if it's really like that, but
You
I'll
want to
fi-
do the Amazon.
I'll find out one day.
All right. That would be fantastic. Okay, so Agie.
Morocco or South Korea. That's one.
Ooh, Morocco, huh?
They're doing some really cool stuff in Morocco now. They got some high-speed rail network that they're busy building as well. So.
Is Marrakesh still a thing?
Yeah,
people want to
definitely.
go,
and,
huh?
And know of somebody that's just been, and apparently the surfing is amazing. It's a big thing now. Surfers are traveling the world to catch some waves. But yeah, Morocco and South
Casablanca.
Korea. Yeah, Casablanca. All of it.
The Atlas Mountains.
I've seen some resorts there, and just that you see these beautiful resorts, and you get that landscape of that sand and all of that.
Yeah.
There's obviously the Star Wars part, which I'm sure you'll understand as well. And you see these beautiful pools with that backdrop of that sand and all of that. It's just amazing.
And you said the other one was South Australia?
South Korea.
Oh,
South Korea.
I'm going to say Australia.
Not Australia. I've been
South Korea, yeah.
South Korea.
Yeah. And I want to go to North Korea. It's best Korea.
Gee,
Good luck.
Yeah,
Good luck with that.
So you can.
Yeah,
I don't know if you'll come back for that.
I've looked into it. No. I mean, like, there's some advantages that people complain about a South African passport.
No, it'll go there fine.
But
It'll be fine.
the one or two things that are useful from our passport's point of view, if you want to go to Iran, you can do that.
You're good to go. Yeah.
And remember, I want to go to Iran because all those ancient
There's lots of
Persian
Absolutely.
historical monuments that I want to go and see in Persepolis and places like that. No problem if you're South African.
Yeah.
Same with North Korea. They'll go.
Russia, no problem.
to go to
We don't know
Russia-
where
to
you
go to-
are in the world, but come. You know, so these are not bad ideas.
To go to
All right.
Russia now would be, absolutely. I think would be mind blowing.
I think it would be.
Not another tourist in sight, and
sure.
you got the place. For
Sure, as
yourself.
long as they don't conscript you at the same time, you'll be fine. All right, listen, we've given you so many ideas this morning on the show, and I want to thank everybody who's been part of this. Thank you, Dieter.
Thank you.
Everybody who joined us this morning online in the comments section, lots of questions, lots of very stupid comments, but that's not unexpected.
No.
And big thank you to Agie who arranged the whole thing. You really are a treasure trove of information too. I mean, we
Pleasure to
mentioned
be
that.
here.
Listen, we've got Botswana, Namibia, we've got Mozambique, Madagascar, we've got far-flung destinations above and beyond that. And I think East Africa is also sounding more and more like an exciting destination for many of us. Doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. You've learned a little bit about aspects of how to travel more smartly, where you'd like to go that you might not have thought of before, and so much more. It's really a bonanza this morning. And we'll be back in the studio on Friday morning, but it's really cool to do something different. And if you're looking for more information, or you're looking for a suggestion of a destination, just head to travel.co.za. It's really the simplest thing to remember. Just put it in your head, put it on your saved bookmarks, put it in your diary. Just consider it a reminder for the end of the year when you maybe decide at the last minute you want to go somewhere. Travel.co.za. All the destinations, all the opportunities, all waiting for you. All right, we'll see you on Friday. Ciao, everybody. Bye.